Conscious Parenting Live. It's great to be here and great to be doing this here on YouTube. So if you're watching live, say hello. So it'd be great to say hello to you. I'm not sure if anybody's going to actually come live. But if you're watching the replay, also say hello. I'll be checking the comments later on. So this first live is called Working from Home with Kids, which is the situation I am in. It's the summer holidays here in the UK and I am working from home and my family around, my children around a lot of the time. And I wanted to bring this to you and revisit this topic, which I looked at a while ago during the pandemic, during lockdown. I created a support series called Working from Home with Kids, and that was really helpful for people. And I wanted to share some of that because I don't have 4 days with you. So I want to keep these lives fairly short, sort of half an hour. So let's dive in. So what we're going to be covering today is I'm going to be going through my 3 Ps. So there are 3 ways to make working from home with kids easier, and reduce the guilt that we can feel. Which I will talk a little bit more about in a little while. So before we get started, have a think about what is your biggest challenge when it comes to working from home with your children. When I thought about this morning, just before I went live, I was like, well, what is my biggest challenge right now? And I realized it's actually my mindset. It's that guilt part. It's that part of feeling guilty when we're working, because we're not with our children, we're not with our family. And then when we're with our family and our children, feeling guilty that we're not working, so that kind of is a bit of a catch-22, isn't it? And if our mindset is in that place, when we're coming from that place, then we're just feeling guilt the whole time. It's a lose-lose situation. And what I want to help people do is be in a win-win situation. So before I get into the 3 Ps, let's just talk a little bit about that mindset piece, because often I work across with my conscious parenting and conscious living, really, is what I'm looking at. Is we've got the practical strategies and skills, right? We've also got the mindset part, our thoughts and feelings. We've got the intuition and the energetics, that part of that inner work, and releasing and recalibrating to our best self, and consistency, like doing things long enough for them to work over time. So those are the pillars that I work across. So let's look at that mindset piece. So the feeling guilty. So that is coming from this place of worry, of not feeling enough, of trying to compensate for our fear around not being perfect, not being enough, not being there enough, all of those things, right? And you'll know what that is for you. And so the first part is awareness, and to acknowledge the thoughts and feelings that are coming up. And then the next step, so once you know what is coming up, and those worries and those thoughts, feelings that are coming up, you can check in with yourself to look at, well, is it true that my children, is it true that I'm failing my children? Let's say that's one that's come up for you. is it true? And then, you know, I suspect the answer is going to be no, you know, and then look at, well, what are the benefits? What is true? What are you getting from you working? What are they getting from you working? Where are you there for them? And 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 write down that positive thing. Write down. So if it's no, I'm not failing my children, then what is the truth? That the truth is I spend lots of time with them. The truth is I love them deeply. The truth is we play and have fun together. The truth is, so write that down. And then come from that place. So if it's true that actually I do all this amazing stuff with my children, and hand on heart, I can say I'm actually quite proud of how I parent, and I work hard, and I really focus on those conscious parenting skills, and I'm always developing and improving. So if that is true, then I can come from that place when I'm making my decisions about how to organize my work, how to organize our free time, and all of that stuff. So I hope that little mindset part helps. I'm not going to go into the energetics today and the kind of releasing the guilt from your body. I have I have a session called Tapping into Calm, which takes you through some EFT, emotional freedom technique tapping, that's great for releasing. So if that's something you're interested in and you want to dive deeper into this part, the mindset and that energetic part is your biggest challenge, then do reach out and let me know, and I can share a link to that with you. Okay, so let's dive into the 3 Ps. Gosh, I've already spent 7 minutes on mindset, but it's so important. That part is so important. Okay, so the 3 Ps. So I'm going to just tell you what they are, and then I'm going to dive more deeply into them. The first one is prioritize. The second one is plan, and the third one is prepare. Prioritize, plan, and prepare. Those are my 3 Ps when it comes to working from home with kids. So let's look at the first one. Prioritize. And if I didn't say it, I will ask you questions during this. You can put those in the comments. I would love to see those. These are public comments, so just be aware of that. But I will be checking the comments, so please do interact in those if you're watching it live or you're watching the replay. Yeah. And you might want a notebook. I'll be doing these sessions weekly, so do bring a notebook to these, because you'll get insights and tips and stuff. Okay, so prioritize. Let's dive into that. So I came across a fantastic analogy for prioritizing, doing, what is most important, and what is both important and urgent. Okay, so we can have things that are important and we can have things that are urgent, and the sweet spot is when they're both. And so this concept is, I often think about when I think about working from home with kids, I think about juggling, juggling all the things, juggling work, juggling home life, juggling family time, juggling time, for myself, to, my self-care, my radical self-care, juggling all the things, right? Juggle, juggle, juggle. So I want you to imagine, you're juggling, and, you're mostly juggling with bean bags, but you have a glass ball. You have some glass balls that you're juggling with. Those glass balls are the things that are important and urgent. Okay. So I want you to think about, ask yourselves, what are my glass balls today? What are my glass balls this week? And that's how you're going to prioritize. You're going to choose what are the glass balls, those things that if you're juggling and you drop one of your bean bags, it doesn't matter. You can pick it back up, you can leave it on the ground, it doesn't matter. It's not going to smash, right? There aren't going to be massive consequences. So like one of your bean bags might be cleaning the bathroom, right? If you don't clean the bathroom, what's the worst that's going to happen? You can ask yourself that question to find out what your glass balls are. What's the worst that's going to happen? I'm going to have a dirty bathroom. So what? So what? It doesn't matter if you have a dirty bathroom today. One of the glass balls, it might be that you tend to cook all your meals from scratch, and today you're not really able to do that, and you give your children, fish and chips, or fish fingers and chips from the freezer or something, right? It doesn't matter. That is a beanbag, right? It doesn't matter if you haven't cooked them, a wholesome, nutritious meal that has plenty of veg in it, etc., etc. Doesn't matter. It's not a glass ball. Being at that work meeting on time or being there for a client, for me, that's a glass ball. Like, I will prioritize that. I will make sure that I am there, I'm prepared, and I'm available for my clients at the time I say I'm going to be there. So if you've got a work meeting today, that will be one of your glass balls, right? So, and your glass balls might not always be work related, okay? You might have a glass ball that is a home glass ball or a self-care glass ball. If you are absolutely exhausted and at the end of your tether, you having some rest, having a nap, doing meditation, whatever it is, that becomes a glass ball. It is important and it is urgent because you're not going to be able to keep functioning. So that is a glass ball. Okay. So decide, what are your glass balls for today? Like, only you will know what they are, and write those down. So you might have one glass ball, or you might have 3 glass balls for your week, for your day. And you might have 3. I go with 3 glass balls for my week. What are my 3 glass balls that absolutely, no matter what, have to be done? And then look at what are my glass balls for today. And it might be you have 1 or you have 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Write those down. If you want to share one of them in the comments, I'd love to see what your glass balls are, get a sense of what people's glass balls are, what your priorities are. So this really, really helps when it comes to working from home with your kids, because your time might be so much more limited, and probably is much more limited. So it's really important that you make the most of the time that you have by doing the tasks, doing the things that are going to move the needle for you the most, that are the most important and a priority, right? Yeah. So that's my first P, prioritize. My second P is plan. Okay, so I know some people like to go with the flow and what have you, but it really does help to have a plan. And I have been one of those people who likes to go with the flow a little bit, likes to be a bit spontaneous. And I always think it is actually easier to be spontaneous when you have a plan. Okay. But yeah, so when my children are in term time, I have baseline structure, which is their school day. They go to school and they come back. So I have a plan for my time that way. So during the holidays, it's important to create a plan, and you'll probably need to revisit this plan regularly, because it might change week to week, because you might have a week where they're at like a summer camp maybe. And then, you'll have a week where you're all at home. You'll have a week where you go on holiday, or a couple of weeks, or maybe a month, or however long it is that you're away. So, you know, your plan will change. So this will be something you'll be coming back to and revisiting again and again and again through your holidays. And the chances are, some people are really organized and plan their holiday time way in advance, months and months in advance, and plan when they're going on holiday, when your child is at a summer camp, and all those things. Um, what and some people don't do that, don't plan well way in advance like that. What I recommend, there are 3 things that I'm going to talk about today. One is having and using a calendar. Now, most of you probably do. I'm curious, actually, in the comments, let me know, do you already use a calendar that's working for you? And if so, is it an electronic one or a paper one? So let me know in the comments, because I'd love to know. And if you don't use a calendar, also let me know, because I'm curious about this. I have a friend that's really resistant to using a calendar. One of the big changes for me happened when I started using, I use iCals, which is like the Apple calendar, because I have an iPhone. So, and what's great about using that, or using like a Google Calendar, the Microsoft Calendar, is that you can synchronize those. You can have more than one calendar, and you can synchronize those. So, like I say, in our household, we use the iCal, and I have a calendar. My children have calendars, and we have a home calendar. So my husband has a calendar, and we have a home calendar. So all of our calendars get synced, so that we have an overview of who's doing what when. My work calendar also, blocks off my time, and what people can book onto my calendar as well. So I have a separate calendar for work appointments, because I have links where my clients can book a session in with me. So so that blocks off my calendar. So it's important that all the things are all there. So if you're not already using a calendar, I really recommend that you do that, and you plan your work time when you are working, and if you've got a partner and they work, when your partner is working. Now, I had a mum that I was coaching, and both of her and her partner both worked from home. Well, they shared an office space, actually. It wasn't from home. They shared an office space. And so they divvied up that time, but she was always getting the time when she was tired, and in the evenings, and she had the children all day, and he always had like the premium work time in the morning or during the day, when and so it wasn't very fair. So if you are sharing a space like that, think about how can you divvy up that time a bit more fairly, if that is your situation, and I find this a lot with mums, and with this particular mum, they were putting themselves at the bottom of the pile, which is why they had organized their work time like that. They were sacrificing themselves and working when they were most tired. And, she got so much more time and energy by sharing that time, having more premium time when she was at her most vital in the office to do her work. And that was a mindset thing. That was looking at, well, what did she really want? What a need? And to ask for that and to negotiate that and look and take up space, you know. So if you know, you might be a mum or a dad in that situation where you you are coming from a place of like sacrifice or martyrdom, right? Because that's what that's the place we're going to when we're putting ourselves last. So just check in with yourself. Is that something that you're doing? And what changes, what needs to change? What do you want? What do you need? What are your boundaries? What are you available for? And make that change. So just check in with yourself on that. So who is working when? So that's to go on the calendar. What family time have you got booked? You know, but book in your family time and book in time for play and pleasure for yourself. Like, it's really difficult to pour from an empty cup. Well, you can't pour from an empty cup. And so you want to be topping yourself up. So make sure you've got time in your day where you do some things that top up your tank, your so your cup is a bit more full. The ideal, obviously, is to have it full or actually overflowing. So if you imagine you've got a teacup and you've got a saucer and it's overflowing, and then you are giving from the overflow. I mean, that is the ultimate, right? And I get that can feel really far from where people are. So, you know, be topping yourself up so that you are giving from a fuller cup. Okay. So and then the final thing I'm going to talk about is meals. Meal planning makes a big difference when you're working from home with kids, because everybody needs to eat. And it takes a lot of time and energy and space to be, you know, thinking about, what are we going to eat today? And then trying to find something, or, you know, so planning your meals in advance. So, you know, ideally like a week, or at least, you know, a few days ahead. Some people plan a whole month, you know, but to plan, what are we going to eat this week? Shop for that, or do like click and collect, or have your shopping delivered. You know, most supermarkets do a shopping delivery. You know, you might even use something like HelloFresh, or one of these meal delivery services where they, you know, deliver all of the ingredients that you need for your meals. You might, you know, do that every day, or you might have a meal once a week that is that way, that keeps things easy, you know, for you. So that's another option. Or we have here in Edinburgh, we also have a, you know, shop called Cook that do nutritious meals, like frozen meals that you can, you know, get in. So there's different options. And you know, there's different options depending on what's going on for you. You know, I saw a post a few days ago from a woman who was saying she's got a new baby and she's a single mum. She's not managing to eat any hot meals because she's just not managing to cook. And so, you know, that something like that would be a good option for that. And there's, you know, there's also organizations who do meals if you're in that kind of situation, where you can maybe go out and have a meal. I used to go to a local church once a week, which was so lovely. I still love going there with my little ones and having a social time and having a meal, which was, I just loved. So meal plan. Yeah. And let me know in the comments, do you already meal plan? Are you going to meal plan now after watching this? So I'd love to see where you're at. Okay. And so that's the planning bit. So we've had prioritize, we've had plan, and the last one is prepare. Okay. And what I'm talking about in terms of preparing in this context when it comes to working from home with kids, this today I'm going to be talking about preparing your children for you working. Okay. And having just talked about the meal planning, I'm going to talk about having dessert first, this concept of having dessert first. So often, many of us are brought up to that you don't have your dessert first. You have your dessert at the end of the meal, and it's like a reward for eating all your nutritious food. And often we look at rewarding, putting up with things not being great, or doing the difficult things first and then being rewarded. And I'm going to turn it on its head, right? And suggest that you have the dessert first. So let me explain what I mean by that. So when you are working from home, often people's challenges can be interruptions. So think back to that biggest challenge. Mine was my mindset, but for some people it's interruptions. Their children coming in, their children needing, your child wanting your time, wanting your attention, and not giving you the space to do the work that you want to get done. And so a great thing so the dessert first concept is really great for reducing interruptions and giving you the space, guilt-free space as well. So it helps with the guilt and it helps with interruptions. So what you do is you spend some quality time. You top your child up with some quality time before you do your work, right? So instead of saying, when I finished working, I will play with you, or we will, do that thing, or read a story, whatever it is, you're preloading them, right? You're giving them the dessert first. You are spending some quality time with your child before you go and do the work. And when you do that, they're more likely to give you the space to do it. Yeah? They're more likely not to interrupt you when you have kind of preloaded them with this quality time. So that's what I mean by having the dessert first. So have a think about what can you do with your child that will be fun, to spend some quality time with them. What do they like doing? Maybe it's reading a book together. Maybe it's playing a game together. Maybe it's doing a bit of baking. So, and just to let you know, it can be something that's like 10 minutes, 20 minutes. It can be 5 minutes, so that you're topping them up with that quality time. Now, I had a mum, like I say, I originally did this during lockdown, and I had a mum, or two mum household, and they were working from home. They both had meetings, and they were on my working from home with kids support series at the time. And they did this. They spent some time with their children, doing something that they love to do. And it was great. They both had Zoom meetings. They both went and did their meetings. Their children didn't interrupt, not only didn't interrupt them, but they actually got ready for bed on their own for the first time. That is huge, isn't it? All because they used this concept of preloading them, right? Giving them the dessert first, giving them that quality time, and then they took on that. They didn't interrupt them, and they actually expanded more into independence, So that is what is possible from this. So just to let you know, it really does work when you do these. So yeah, so I'd love to hear in the comments, let me know what you're taking away from this session. I'm really proud of myself because I'm on 30 minutes. So I'm just going to very quickly for this last minute, just recap what we have covered today in working from home with kids. We've covered prioritizing those glass balls. We've covered planning, getting your calendar in order and planning your free time, your pleasure time, all of the stuff. And then preparing. So preparing your child by giving them the dessert first. And the dessert in this analogy is quality time. So let me know in the comments what you're taking away from today, what aligned action you're going to take from watching this session. And I always love to hear what impact has this session had on you working from home with your kids. So do come back and let me know, or you can also email me. And if you're watching this and you haven't already subscribed, make sure you subscribe to this channel for more of these tips and sessions. I will be back for a Conscious Parenting Live next week, next Thursday, where I'll be looking at big emotions, tantrums and big emotions in next week's session. So do make sure you subscribe to the channel, and below are also links if you're wanting further support. Then there are links there where you can check out my website, and also book in for, if you're wanting one-to-one or two-to-one support, you can book in for a clarity call to see if we would be a good fit for support with me. All right, have an amazing day, and I look forward to seeing some of the comments.